Other interesting political news, you have Biden saying you cannot own a cannon, which it's an utter lie. You can, and you absolutely should. Now, this is from an interview that Biden had recently, and it was first posted by RNC Research on X Twitter. And Biden, well, I'm not sure how well he'll be able to speak. That might be an interesting competition. Who speaks more articulately, Biden or myself? That might be a tough call. Now, without further ado, I was about to say, his voice is infinitely better than mine. I usually say that, but again, in this case, I don't know. It might be a tough call.
From the very beginning, I used to teach the Second Amendment in law school. Oh. From the very beginning, there were limitations. You couldn't own a cannon. You could own a rifle, a gun, but there were certain things you couldn't do. But they weren't weapons of war.
Again, that shows how mentally vacuous that statement is. You absolutely can and should. Again, when the founding fathers, the whole point of the Second Amendment is to defend yourself from a corrupt government. It has nothing to do with hunting. And back then, they had the same, if not better, armaments than governments. In fact, you had private citizens in the U.S. who had entire warships. They had the same exact military arms that the military had. That did not just include small arms, which include rifles and pistols. They also had cannons. In most states in the United States, you can own a cannon. Ironically, it's even less regulated than a firearm because it's considered an antique, a curio, and a relic in many cases. Now, in the U.S., you could actually own a grenade launcher, a short-barreled rifle, a machine gun, a short-barreled shotgun with the proper paperwork. Now, granted, I would say it's unconstitutional, but because of the 1934 Firearm Act, or the NFA Act, all you have to do is pay a $200 tax stamp to the U.S. Treasury Department and go through the proper paperwork that any FFL that is properly licensed can help you with. Again, not legal advice, but the rule of thumb or the standard process is the paperwork, a photo ID, passport style, as well as fingerprints. I would also suggest setting up a trust. But again, with the proper paperwork, you can buy suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, machine guns if they were manufactured and registered before 1986. And yes, cannons, even explosives, grenades. Again, just takes paperwork, time, and unfortunately, money. One of the few times in our life where tax and inflation worked in our favor, $200 in 1934 is equivalent to about $4,500 now, which is why when the law passed in 1934, it destroyed those types of products on the consumer level because most people couldn't afford it. A suppressor was $7 back then. Imagine paying a $200 tax on a $7 item. Oh yeah, and you also have to pay what I believe unconstitutional sales tax for something that is your right. So not only, yes, you can own a cannon, I'd argue you should. Who the heck, yeah, that'd be awesome. In fact, why not own a grenade launcher? You can buy one. Again, just do the proper paperwork. Just go on the internet and search NFA items for sale or how to purchase, and go to a standard FFL dealer, a federal firearms license, aka, and if they are licensed for those particular items, they will walk you through the process on how to legally purchase them. And it is the most cliched thing. Politicians keep dragging out saying, oh yeah, you can't own a cannon. Yet you can absolutely own a cannon. And from a federalist constitutional perspective, you should be able to own anything that the government has, because that's what it was intended for. I understand public schools usually don't teach this anymore, and there are a lot of Americans who don't believe this. They think the government should have infinitely more firepower than you. That being said, if you read a history book, I know most people don't, more often than not, or actually every time, when the government has infinitely more power than the people, and they disarm the people, that's when the worst things in history ever happen. Time and time again. Literally every single time. So, I don't know if this clip will go viral. Again, it did get 1.2 million views and 5.9 thousand likes. Now, in terms of the political moves on the chessboard, Trump, I'm not sure how much he could run with this particular topic, because Trump, during his presidency, did ban bump stocks, which, again, was a terrible, terrible decision and terrible executive order, partially because of the legal precedent, and they're trying to redefine what a machine gun is. At the time, a bump stock were very popular. They allowed you to use the momentum of the firearm to make it simulate full auto. But it was really you, legally, were pulling the trigger every single time, which is the legal definition of a semi-automatic rifle, which you can own in terms of being newly manufactured. Machine guns, again, had to be manufactured and registered to the U.S. government before 1986, and if you want to purchase it, it is called a transferable machine gun, legal in most states, and because of the supply and demand, they're prohibitively expensive. A full auto machine gun, an AR-15 pattern style variant, will cost you about $30,000. As opposed to a new AR-15, going to run you around $1,000, maybe $2,000 for a nice model. So I'm not sure how much, and again, the comparison, politically speaking, is, unfortunately, I think firearms is a human right, is a God-given right for you to defend yourself and your family. I really wish it wasn't a political issue. But for decades, it has been the right says, yeah, we're very pro-gun, and the left says we're anti-gun. We want more gun control. We want to disarm the good guys. That's been it for a while. And unfortunately, I'm pretty skeptical on the right because, politically speaking, Republicans had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the White House. And yet, they couldn't get the suppressors off the NFA list, which would allow you to purchase one with the standard 4473 background check, and without the $200 tax stamp, just your local sales tax, which, again, I think they should be exempt in that regard. And there's a lot of support for that. I mean, it would help people with their hearing loss. It would also help people shoot guns more accurately. It is more enjoyable. I highly recommend it. And it is currently legal to buy your suppressor in 42 states. And yet, the Republicans couldn't get that bill passed. They acquiesced. So that's why I'm always skeptical on, politicians saying they're pro-gun, whether they're left or right. I mean, show me your track record. And again, there are some good things getting done. I mean, a lot of states are also passing constitutional carry. And from a constitutional perspective and a federalist perspective, what the Founding Fathers wanted, I 110% agree with that being done. So there are some wins on the Second Amendment. But it's gotten to, and politically speaking, we've heard this being said before. It's not too new. But I wonder, for moves on the political chessboard, will Biden continue to shoot things like the assault weapon ban, which bans guns basically just because they're black and they look scary? When mechanically speaking, that ban would just be going after a semi-auto. It functions identical to the other guns. They have the same cartridge, same magazine fed. Now, we did have we had an assault rifle ban, the Clinton ban, which did ban guns based on their characteristics as well as magazine capacity. And there are some American citizens who, I guess, don't read history books who would support those things. Now, Biden has hinted he wants to bring those back, and he's said it a couple times. That could be a big political issue for 2024. Now, because of the Summer of Love riots and a lot of people starting to see, oh yeah, the police aren't going to defend myself, I need to defend my family and my friends, I think that could actually push people who are in the middle to maybe vote right this year. Again, Trump does not have a perfect track record. That bump stock ban was terrible. And a lot of the hardcore gun enthusiasts and firearm, Second Amendment believers see that as a big stain on his legacy. That being said, it's also Trump versus Biden. So if you believe in guns, kind of have to do de facto Trump or a libertarian candidate. Let me know, do you think this will be a big political issue? Is there enough people who would really resonate with loving or hating another assault weapon ban? A lot of speculation the Supreme Court would shoot that down because these guns are, because of I forget the specific case from the Supreme Court, but there was a case in which they said you cannot ban guns in common usage. The AR-15 is also the most popular rifle, with over 50% of all rifles being the AR-15 style pattern, partially because it's so, efficiently brilliant designed by Eugene Stoner. Also, the patent's expired, so any company can do it. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know, do you think firearms and Second Amendment, will that be a big political issue this year? Or do you think, people kind of know if you vote left, more often than not, you'll get bans. Vote right, you'll usually get no additional bans. Maybe you'll get one good gun law passed, or you'll get some rights back, maybe. Do you think those votes are kind of baked in, or do you think this will be a big topic when it comes to the 2024 election? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Also, not legal advice. If you want to buy those NFF items, go to NFFL. They will walk through their process, and they'll help you out. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.